Welcome back to another video on Gearsaw Studios, and today I'm going to be showing you how to build yourself a starter house, like this one right here. Not exact instructions, but you should be able to make something super similar to it with all of its little interior details. We got the main room, we got a little bit worn down of a basement to give a different kind of vibe, and then we have this very Mediterranean upstairs bedroom, along with a lot of decorations outside. So, in order to do this, we do need a flat area. Very simple, not perfectly flat, but still. The plane spine will suffice, and we just start by making a foundation. And here's the thing about making a foundation. You can do any shape you want like this. I'm trying a bunch of different stuff, but this doesn't work. Notice the sea lanterns, we can count, and instead, we need something with some bigger middle space. And then we can have little extensions off of it. That way, we have something where we can actually put stuff in and then actually expand upon. Make sure this is about 3 blocks tall. And then we add some oak logs on the corners. And you can see how this is already a pretty decent foundation. When we do all of this together, we can start making it, well, interesting and usable. I went a little bit quick on those intro parts regarding the shape of the foundation, but now we can take it easy and just build a little bit of oak planks. Like this, that will be the main block for our wall. Then we need some windows. But you can see here, how do we even connect the walls to the foundation? We can build walls all we want, but we also need a floor. And once you have a floor, you can actually figure out where to put the walls. So like this, very simple birch planks. You can incorporate some birch logs to texture it. So let's just do a bit of that. While you're doing this, you also have to worry about your walls. Make sure some parts are lower than others. You can see for a moment here. This becomes very important later. That way, your whole thing is not just a rectangle. We want to make sure we're not building a villager house. But we have that in mind. Now, we need to make our foundation actually connect to the walls. So we have this. Very simple. Trapdoors, logs connecting. And now, we can do that for the whole build. Very simple. Now, for those parts that have lower walls, we can adjust them to have roofs on them. And these are not your typical roof. You can see in the background those triangle roofs. We're not doing that this time actually. We're going to be trying something a bit more basic and slanted. So, you can see nice tough bricks. And with those tough bricks in place, we have a roof. You can texture that with some polished tuff. I wish I would have done that, but oh well, you can see if you like it. From here, let's have some trapdoors on the windows like this. And you can see we can fold them together, and this will make shutters. This is incredibly important for your build. If your windows are bare, then they'll look somewhat unfinished. And while I can do this on small builds, or if you're trying to look like a villager house, we're trying to make sure we look like pros here, even if this house is admittedly a little bit basic. This is also the part where you start sectioning off the build, where you can see some areas are getting disconnected from the main area, so that way we can have extensions and generally more unique areas. You can see the main hall even got slightly cut by it. Then we can add some more planks to make sure our roofs still work, and we're going to be adding the same kind of slanted roof right here. Very simple ideas. Since I can assume you probably have the idea of roofs down, we do have to account for windows, but that's a little bit later. We can just take a quick look around, and what do you know? This is oak. But this is a little bit boring, you can see. So let's incorporate some logs to it. We're going to try gradients here. So, real quick, we can also add an extension right here. Make sure you do this before any gradients. So, by adding just a few logs, we can make a better ending for our main hall, because you can see, very flat here. What if that part of the wall extended 1 block outward? Additionally, if you have a flat wall, you can make a more weird window here. But now we have the gradients. Since we know where the windows are, where the walls are going to be, let's put some oak stripped logs on the bottom layers, quite randomly too. Don't bother trying to follow exact instructions here. But then, right here, we also have some birch, because we're going to go lighter as the build goes up. So, we have all this. We need a staircase, very simple slabs to get into the build. We have windows to decorate. We have a whole bunch of stuff, very basic ideas, but let's just do it in all one swoop. Now, for something kind of interesting. So this isn't really about the video or anything, but I found out that I've been running this YouTube channel for almost 5 years. I started this in middle school and I'm in college now, which is really weird to put in perspective. I'm going to be graduating with a degree in a few months, and I've been running this the whole time, so thank you for supporting me. I know it's been a bit slow, my editing not the best, but I'm really trying to improve it this year. So thank you for supporting me after basically 5 years of Gearsaw. But anyways, back to the video. We can see right here, we have ourselves some tall walls now, and our extensions are nicely decorated. Notice the alternating oak and birch leaves, and then we have a bit more sandstone at the top. If you're having trouble getting that, you can get it from rivers and you can craft it. And of course, you can always dig up the beaches nearby. But right here, we do need more windows. And this floor is a lot of windows. With no extensions going up this high, you could add them up here. We have to have a lot more windows. So right here, we have a nice spruce one. Notice the trapdoors, the birch, stairs. We can cover a little bit of the glass with trapdoors. It doesn't impact it. And for dormers, this area has a candle with a little bit of stained glass, a bunch of trapdoors, and notice the roof shape right here. We're going to be talking a bit more about the roof later. If you want to have a fake area, notice the black behind that. That is a bunch of black concrete. Make sure it doesn't touch the window. Then, for above this extension, I decided to give a splash of color. I love sandstone and mangrove, very Mediterranean, so I decided to use mangrove shelves to decorate these windows, and that nice splash of color works very well. Make sure to deviate from my instructions from time to time. You might make something better than I did. Then, same windows there, and right here, we incorporate some trapdoors and shelves together into the mix to make our biggest window. Additionally, we have some oak and birch leaves, the signs again. You can control pick block to skip the interface so you can place them faster. But we have all of this, the changing spruce on it, we have that weird curve for the roof, and now we're really getting somewhere. So for the roof, let's try something basic. We're going to do full copper. It's very cheap to do. And this is, passable, but there's something wrong with it. There's just nothing to it. It is the most obvious and generic roof ever. If you wanted blue, this is how I'd do it. So let's add a little bit more. And hooray, we added that, but that's still kind of bland. We can do this so quickly. Let's make it a bit more interesting. So 2 blocks from the edge, I'm going to add that. We're going to make it go higher in the middle, and then we're going to make it go a little bit higher towards the edges. And we can see right here, this works so much better. Pause if you need to take a look. A lot of the same texture can get hard to look at, but this is much better for a roof. It adds a little bit more detail. We incorporate some slabs and such, and we can improve it even further with some leaves. Notice how we have this plant growing across the roof, replacing some of the copper. And this is huge. Since the build is using some blocks that don't have stair variants like the logs, we have to get creative to make sure it looks interesting. So right here, let's add some vines. And now, a little bit of a jump cut. These vines go all across the build. We can just add them real quickly. The oak, the birch, and they even replace some of the corners. We add some red terracotta to look like flowers. So that way, still completely survival possible. And all this works together really, really well. And this makes sure that your house really stands out, because you can always build onto a build. I had to pry myself away because it was already Saturday and I like uploading on Fridays. So right here, we can just continue our ideas here. This is our foundation, and we're going to add more foliage. And this oak, I actually revert it later, but you can see how we have some stairs here. We can add them together. And then I replaced the corners with andesite later to keep it a bit more interesting. So let's do that all across the build real quick. While we're adding everything, make sure to mossify your build as well. Adding those mossy stairs and blocks to it really makes sure that it tells a story, so make sure to do that. You could also incorporate some cracked blocks, but I just didn't have the idea to. Don't worry, it's not required. But right here, this vine stuff reaches the bottom. Additionally, we can hide some trapdoors down there. But right back to the time lapse. Now, with a little bit of breakneck speed building here, I wish I could build this quick. Now, we have another thing. So we have the foundation. Now, let's make sure nobody can look at it. This is where it comes to leaves. And we're going to add more of those bushes at the bottom with our same alternating of oak and birch. Make sure they go a little bit up on the foundation. If you're building on a non-flat area, don't worry, this can also ride up your walls. Then, add lanterns hidden in the bushes. This makes sure that your build is glowing in the night. So we can see this, unbrightened footage, works so much better. So now, brightening again, let's just look at it. And what do you know? These bushes make sure that the build looks so much better. And with all this in mind, now we can safely say that we are somewhat done with the exterior. We do need some lanterns on other parts of the build, so be careful of that. Let's just fix the lantern situation with a little, just like that. So pretty much any available surface, if they're evenly spaced, they don't have to be, and you can see how that all worked nicely. And hooray, we still have something left for the exterior. Notice the torches is a little marker for me, but let's go inside now. And it's a little dreary. I've done very limited work here, so let's just fix it real quick. And now that's better. So we can see a whole bunch of things changed. And it would be quite a bit to go over everything, so let's just go slow. Furnaces, crafting table, whatnot, and then we can go to the other side, dining table, we have some nether wart, and if you need a little bit more details on anything, you can always ask in the comments. We have some banners here, generic design, birch on the ceiling, we have some potted plants here, don't forget your ender chests, your carpets, stone cutters, crafting tables, paintings, dining rooms, mossy carpets combined with green carpets, anything you can think of, and then of course the ceiling. It goes stair, slab, and then with those slabs we can go to another stair and we get a flatter part. You can always pause to look at the exact dimensions. Make sure it's well lit. That painting corner actually turned out a little bit too dark. And then, of course, never forget your flower pots. Then, we have an enchanting setup in this little extension here. Gearsaw Studios finally consistently doing enchanting setups, hooray! But under there, grindstone with a stair to access it. And then we have a chest for our lapis. So this is our first floor, very functional. We have that carpet I was talking about earlier. And now we have the area, but we do need to do a little bit more. The upstairs. And you can see, very Mediterranean style, aka anything I deem bread with sandstone is Mediterranean. I don't know if that's accurate, but we do need a bed here. Notice the 6 beds. This is to make sure the whole thing is bouncy. And it will also take up a lot of the room. It took up way too much, but it still looked really cool, so we'll keep it. From here, your goal is to just fill up this room. And it's, well, pretty easy. There just isn't much to do in this room. But as you can see, bed's still bouncy, and we have some carpets in order to make sure that we hide the beds. You just remove one, and yeah. So here's the interior. And you can see, very simple, just some azalea, some leaves, we have a chest, crafting table, armor stand, and of course the roof. But you could already see that in other shots. So really, this is it. There's not really much to say. Well, there is one thing. You can put leaves in front of the windows. You might think you shouldn't, but it's perfectly fine. You can always do it. So yeah, we have this now. So we have the top floor, the bedroom, and now we have the middle floor, and we have the basement. So yeah, we have another thing to do. And the basement is just here for more storage or nether portal. I personally do not like putting nether portals in my bases because they are noisy. So I'm going to not be adding it here. Instead, we're going to make this the storage room in case the few chests upstairs just don't fit. However, we need to make sure this is actually interesting. So I decided, let's spice it up with some tuff. You can see here, we have some pillars of tuff and gray concrete powder for the floor. Additionally, the roof, it's pretty basic. However, you have a problem. It won't line up with the tuff on the walls. So if you do try and make it line up, then your lanterns won't be centered. So now you have to think of other alternative lighting solutions for this one. Fortunately, that's not terribly difficult. We can just go right in, add some more tuff, and we can add some glowstone under our chests. So prepare to add some chests here, and we can also remove these back blocks. Here's the special thing about this though. We can actually make this work depending on what blocks we want to store. How about this? Stones, plants, then we have some woods, minerals, our colored blocks, and then our building blocks. So we have all that, and now we just fill out the rest of the place. Some glowstone's been added, more tuff. Although seems pretty daunting, I just added more stone bricks, and then added some miscellaneous chests in the back and some brewing stands, along with changing the floor to a checkerboard. Then we kinda have a problem. This is too nice of a basement, especially considering how mossy the outside is. It feels a bit too professional. So instead, let's try something a little bit more ruined. So right here, you can see I've completely wrecked the place. Instead of glowstone under everything, I put some resin there too. If you don't have resin, magma works perfectly fine, so does shroom light. However, you'll have good lighting if you use shroom light. The floor has basalt, replacing some of the checkerboard. The walls have cracked, the tuff has been mixed in with normal tuff and stairs, and then in the back I added some more furnaces. We still need a bit of lighting, so I added a lantern there, but as long as it's not light level 0, you're perfectly fine. So you can see, nice and damaged down there. However, that's not the end of this video, because we have the upstairs, we have the middle floor, we have the bottom floor, all three have different vibes. That's very good. However, we still have this bit of an exterior here, and a lot of you would say this is good, I'd say this is good. However, I felt like, nah. So remember these torches? We're going to build a path here. And here's the thing, the path is going to connect us to other builds nearby. I don't have any yet, but still, some cobblestone, and then mix in some gravel, and you'll have something very nice here. Additionally, this whole field here, the reason why I wanted a non-flat area is to surround it in boulders. So let's connect everything like this, just add a bit of cobblestone. Then, with all of this cobblestone and pathing added, you'll have a pretty good idea of where to put everything. So you can see here, cobblestone, and the best way to do this is to just add blobs of stairs, slabs, and whatnot, full blocks. And then you want to make them, of course, go up. So let's just grab everything beforehand and get a lot of these if you're in survival. If you are doing this in survival and you just finished the house, it might be better to get enchanted tools beforehand. This is less of a starter house thing. But anyways, you can see how we're just adding random pieces here, and now we have a boulder. Then we want to add these everywhere. Make sure they have clear and defined boundaries, so let's have gaps between them. And then you have something kind of like this. And you can see how this really separates the build from its environment. And there's still more we can do to establish that effect, but this is a very good start. However, while you're adding all this, you'll notice we're just using cobblestone. And in order to make sure that it looks good, we should, 1, connect the boulders. You can see how I'm adding more cobblestone between each piece, but additionally, we need to mossify them. So let's add blobs of mossy. And additionally, we should surround them with some podzol and then some coarse dirt. This, of course, also establishes a clear boundary by showing it's darker here, the boulders are crushing out the nearby grass, etc. So let's just fill all that out real quick. From here, you can see we have the coarse dirt, the podzol, the mossy, and it looks good, but we're still missing one last thing, some foliage. So let's just fix that real quick. And you can see some grass, some firefly bushes, everything looks so much better. And this also means we can add some lanterns, and finally we can finish off the build. It's certainly a bit more than just a starter house, but if you take this in segments, only do one part in your playthrough and then go and do something else, you can avoid burnout, you can do everything really nicely, looks really cozy in the rain, and you have all these extra amenities. How I'd recommend doing it is start getting yourself some cobblestone, like get maybe full diamond before doing this, that should give a good reference point, and then you smelt down the stuff for the foundation, you chop down some trees, get the walls, maybe gradient them, then add the windows. And from there, you can start working on the interior and do this in a nice manageable way. So with that, it's the end of today's video. If you enjoyed this video, remember, please like and subscribe, it really helps me out. Either way, enjoy the rest of your day. Gearsaw